Hello, everyone. The first love storage, that has opened its doors to subscribers around the world today. I will introduce a story sent by a person named Casey from Los Angeles, USA, titled A Connection at the Train Station. Chuncheon Station, spring at 32. Then and now. I am standing on the platform of Chuncheon Station, where the waves of the Soyang River sparkle and cherry blossoms flutter in the wind. While I spend busy days as a radio DJ in Seoul, I visited my hometown Chuncheon after a long time. As I read listeners' stories in front of the microphone, I recall my story from when I was 17. Chuncheon Station then and now remains unchanged, carrying people's connections as it departs. And that spring, I met you here. I am Taemin, and back then, I was a timid boy who was afraid of the world. Every morning at 7:10, I waited for the train at Chuncheon while Station, listening to music through my earphones. Love? I thought it was just a story from a movie. Then Yuna came into my world. Holding a red umbrella, you smiled at the end of the platform and said, "Excuse me, is this yours?" You laughed as you picked up the pencil that had fallen at my feet. That smile was clearer than the Soyang River. I was flustered and mumbled, "Thank you." Yes. And that was our beginning. Yuna, you always read books or walked as if dancing while listening to music with your earphones at Chuncheon Station. Your bright energy filled this small station with life. I was just an ordinary high school student, Taemin. Math always scored 60 points, and laughing at my friends' jokes was all there was. But after I met you, I started looking forward to the mornings at Chuncheon Station. Since that day, we met every morning. At Chuncheon Station at first, it was just awkward greetings. Hello, Durranyan. Hello. I nodded at your smile as I passed by. Then on a delayed April morning, you stood next to me and started talking. Taemin, what music do you listen to? I was flustered and took out my earphones. Just 90s pop songs? You're so old-fashioned. Listen to this, you said, handing me one side of your earphones. Amidst the noise of Chuncheon Station, your song seeped into my ears. The breeze from the Soyang River tousled your hair and my heart raced. As spring deepened, we had a short conversation. On the platform bench, you liked talking about dreams. I want to be a radio DJ. I want to have a voice that touches people's hearts. I just listened back then. My dream? I didn't even know if I had one at that time. With your voice, you'll really do well. You said with sparkling eyes, Taemin, you should find your dream. It will be fun. Once you handed me a chocolate bar and said, you didn't have breakfast, right? If you're hungry, you'll get cranky. Saying, I felt shy. Thank you, and accepted it. You smiled Taemin, playfully. It's cute how your eyes crinkle when you smile. That comment has been lingering in my mind for days. I wanted to confess, but I couldn't bring myself to say that was my weakness. Our first date was at Soyang Cafe near Chuncheon Station. It was an afternoon in April, and cherry blossom petals were fluttering outside. We sat by the window and drank cocoa. Taemin, what kind of books do you like? Asked with curious eyes. Just a novel. Try reading this. I have notes on every page. Reading your note. This scene is really sad, made me want to know you better. In the summer, Chuncheon Station was bustling with tourists. We grew closer as we had a brief conversation on the platform. You always gave me little gifts. A star folded from paper, a handwritten note says, Taemin, think of me when you see this. I collected those notes in the drawer of my desk. On a July evening, you called me to the platform of Chuncheon Station. Taemin, shall we take a walk today? As the sun sets over the Soyang River, we talked at the end of the platform. Yuna, are you really going to be a DJ? You nodded your head. Yes, I wanted to move people's hearts. So I gathered my courage and spoke up. Yuna, your voice has already moved my heart. You looked at me with surprised eyes as the train and a strong wind blew. Your hair brushed against my face, and my heart raced as if it would burst. I touched your cheek with my trembling hand. Then I kissed you deeply on the lips. Your breath was warm, and your hand gently held my arm. It felt like time had stopped. After the kiss, you smiled with a flushed face and said, Taemin, I heard your heart beating. I was shy and looked down, but I was happy. That kiss was the most intense moment of my life. The end of summer, your expression has darkened. Yuna, is something wrong? You hesitated before speaking. My parents, they opposed me becoming a DJ. You said you often fought at home. They say I should either play games or study. Being a DJ is ridiculous. I wanted to comfort you, but I was clumsy. Yuna, don't give up on your dream. You're the best. You smiled weakly. Thank you, Taemin, but I'm scared too. After Dad left, I remembered the tense life in our family. I felt like I didn't deserve to comfort you. That was my weakness. Once you got angry and said, Taemin, why are you always so quiet? Talk to me more when I'm having a hard time. I was embarrassed and fell silent. Sorry, Yuna, You sighed. Taemin, sometimes I can't see your feelings. I wanted to apologize, but I couldn't bring myself to say it. Even though I saw you in pain, I couldn't do anything. That was my weakness. In autumn, Chuncheon Station was covered with fallen leaves. We met, but something was off. You didn't answer the phone often, and I was scared of that silence. Yuna, are we, okay? You smiled, but that smile lost its light. One day, you were crying at Chuncheon Station. Taemin, my parents are about to get a divorce. I was shocked. What? Then what about you? You lowered and said, I'm lowered your soul with Dad is staying here. And I couldn't say anything. I remembered the moment my dad left, saying, Yuna, you'll be okay. My words felt empty, and you quietly nodded. That night, I had a fight with my mom. Taemin, just study. Don't end up like your dad. Mom's words were sharp. I went into the room and slammed the door. After Dad left, I was always wary of Mom. I was afraid of losing Yuna. But my life was a mess too. I didn't have the courage to tell you about my pain. That was my weakness. At the end of autumn, you waited for me at the Chuncheon Station platform. Taemin, I'm leaving for Seoul tomorrow, and that pierced my heart. So suddenly, I asked, flustered. Yuna, please don't go. You said, your eyes welling up with tears. I'm sorry, Taemin. I don't like it either. You handed me a small notebook. I'll read this later. I wanted to hold on to you, but I couldn't find the words. Yuna, we'll meet again, right? Yeah, one day the train arrived, and you got on. You waved your hand out the window, but I was standing there blankly. In winter, Chuncheon Station was covered in snow. The platform felt empty without you. When I got home, I opened your notebook. Written in small letters, your heart says, Taemin, the mornings at Chuncheon Station were the warmest in my life. I'm sorry for leaving so suddenly. You must be happy. This notebook contains the story you wrote. Please share it on the radio later. Think of me while eating a chocolate bar. I read the notebook and cried. Why couldn't I hold on to you? Why couldn't I express my pain? Why couldn't I support your dreams more? I thought of you while eating your chocolate bar, but the taste was bitter. You went to Seoul. I didn't know, but the story you told me later. In a big apartment in Seoul, you felt lonely at the unfamiliar school. Mom got busier, and you held on while listening to the radio in your room. Taemin, I endured thinking of you back then. You started a part-time job at a local broadcasting station playing traditional games. In front of the microphone, you gradually found your voice. But you said you missed the warmth of Chuncheon Station. In my third year, I joined the school airplay club. I wanted to create something. We prepared a radio broadcast with friends and in front of the microphone. I recalled your notes. Yuna, I tried to start my clumsy first broadcast. It was filled with laughter. But I was happy it was my first step, which was weak. At a university in Seoul, I chose to major in broadcasting writing. I wanted to write the stories that touch people's hearts that you mentioned. I occasionally wrote radio scripts for the club, listening to you along the Han River. Yuna, have I become a somewhat cool person now? I chuckled to myself. After graduating from college, I started working as a DJ at a local radio station in Seoul. At 10 p.m., the first broadcast of Taemin's Starry Night was a mess. My voice trembled in front of the microphone. And I misread the stories. I'm sorry, I'll read it again. Criticism letters from listeners poured in. I was frustrated, but I opened your notebook again. You must be happy. With those words, I picked up the microphone again. While reading a listener's story titled, "The Tale of Losing First Love," I thought of you, the person who sent this story. Your first love is still shining. After that broadcast, letters of support from listeners piled up. I finally found my voice. At 32, I shared people's stories as a radio DJ, and Taemin's Starry Night spread beyond a small town to the whole country. In the listeners' stories, I always look for you, the precious moments you taught me. That's the heart of my broadcast. One day I returned to Chuncheon Station. Cherry blossoms were fluttering over the Soyang River, and I saw you, holding a red umbrella. You were standing at the end of the platform. You turned your head. Oh my, it's been such a long time. Your smile was still as clear as the Soyang River. At the cafe in Chuncheon Station, you said you became a radio DJ in Seoul. Taemin, your starry night is really warm. I was surprised and laughed every day. Asking, do you know my broadcast? You smiled shyly. Yeah, your voice still touches my heart. I told my story. Yuna, I used to be so weak. After you left, I only had regrets. But thanks to your notebook, I found my dream. Sharing people's stories is my happiness. You smiled and said, Taemin, you've really become an amazing person. That comment was a great gift to me. As we left the cafe, I asked, Yuna, do you still have that notebook? You took out the worn notebook. Of course. Should we read again? At the bench in Chuncheon Station, we read your story. At the train station, we kissed and parted ways. Yuna, can I read this on my show? You said, with sparkling eyes. Taemin, let's read it together. We promised to do a special broadcast on Starry Night. We became friends again. It wasn't love, but it was a new connection. First love is not a simple emotion. It is the season that shaped me. The mornings at Chuncheon Station, your smile, your notebook, everything changed my dreams. Even now, when the wind blows over the Soyang River, I think of you and smile. Our connection rides the train in my heart forever. How did you find first love story? Please share the story of your first love. More beautiful than the stars in the night. Sky and more precious and noble than diamond jewels. Who knows? Comments. The first love you have been searching for might one day read your comment and send an emotional reply to our first love. Archived from the farthest corner of the earth. We would appreciate it if you could deeply understand that the purpose of establishing our first love. Storage is right there. As we wish for your first love reunion, We will close the storage for today. See you again in the next story.